Hello and welcome to episode number 239. This is the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com and I'm Cornelius Fichtner. Nice to have you with us. So what would you say are the top 3 reasons why projects fail? Of course, there are many lists out there. Some give you the top 10 reasons, some the top 7, and they include things like lack of senior management involvement, unrealistic expectations, inexperienced project managers, improper delegation of tasks and responsibilities, failure to communicate and act as a team, or lack of resources. But none of these made it to the list of the top 3 resources why projects fail from Yaron Sinai of Elementool. And just to give you a little preview here, poor requirements is at the top of his list. And yes, while we will be reviewing his top 3 reasons in detail, I think the much more interesting part of the interview is the second half, when we open Yaron's book, The Project Management Formula. In this 120-page book, Yaron mostly discusses many best practices and gives excellent advice on managing your projects. However, in our interview, we focused on just the last 15 pages, where he outlines 5 steps that will help you to avoid project failure. The first one is all about defining project objectives, and I'll let him discuss the rest in the interview. Enjoy.
The Project Management Podcast's feature interview.
Today with Yaron Sinai, CEO and founder of Elementool. Hello, Yaron, and welcome to the Project Management Podcast.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, you are the author of the book, The Project Management Formula, the 5 steps to complete your project on time. And we're going to open up that book a little later on during our interview here, but we want to start somewhere completely different. In fact, in an article that you wrote, titled The Top 3 Reasons Why Projects Fail. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you came up with these top 3 reasons? Why are these the number 1, 2, and 3 reasons why projects fail?
Well, I've been in the project management industry for almost 15 years, and I have a company that we have a project management system, so we've worked with thousands of companies, and we help them with their project management process. And over time, you start to see patterns in the way projects are run, right? And you start to see that there are a few major reasons why projects fail. These top 3 reasons are the most common ones, and you see it like very, very often when you encounter projects and you see their process. As you said, the 3 main reasons are poor requirements, missing priorities, and the last one is scope creep.
Okay, well, let's go through them one by one, and you can tell us a little bit more about, what you have found out in the field about those. So you say the number 1 reason why projects fail are poor requirements. What do you mean by poor requirements?
Well, poor requirements means when you start a project, usually let's say you have a client and you have your team that's supposed to develop the project for the client, and also it could apply for in-house projects when there's a team of developers that works on some kind of a software project or product for the company. People want to start to get to the coding right away because they feel like if they're not coding something, they're wasting time. As a result, they don't stop and plan what they're actually going to build. So the requirement phase, that's the first phase that you open the project with and in this phase you build some kind of a project plan and you define the features that you're going to develop. Now, when you define the feature, you want to get into details of each feature, how things are going to work, and even if it's a web this, let's say, a website, the different pages and the design of the pages. So, and it's more like a project plan. If you don't do that properly, you start developing the project, and then after a while, you realize that that's not what the customer wanted, and you need to go back and make changes, or sometimes even start everything all over again. So the result of that is time waste, and money is being wasted because you need to do things instead of just doing them once. You need to do it over and over again.
Out of the complete time in a project, how much would you say is required to work on these requirements to make sure that they are properly defined? Is it 10% of my project time should be spent there? Is it 25% of the time? Do you have an answer even for this? Can we reduce it to a percentage like that?
Well, I think you can. Well, it depends on the complexity of the project and the features that are being developed. But I would say between 10 to 25% of the...
Okay.
Yeah.
So quite a sizable amount. I mean, if you have a very complex project, it's probably going to be more like 25%, right?
Yes, and well, I talk about it more in my book, is the design, the requirements process is you can also find bugs in the requirements before you even start coding the features, and that will save you. There was a research that found out that it takes 5 times longer to solve bugs during the development process than during the requirement process. So it's a process where you define the requirements, and then you do a requirement review, and you sit with your client or the people that's supposed to use the product that you develop, and you go over it, and you think about ways to fix it, or ways that things might go wrong, and it's a process. So yeah, it takes about 25%. Once you have that ready, all you need to do is just go and start coding or building the product.
All right, so problem number 1, poor requirements. Problem number 2, you say, is missing priorities. Tell me a little bit more what you mean about missing priorities. What type of priorities are we talking about here?
Well, the priorities is when you break down the project into features, for example. So not all features are the same. Some features are more important than others. And sometimes if you want to stay on schedule, you might not be able to develop all the features. So you want to get the high priority features first, and then if you have time, you want to start working on the lower priority features. Now, if you don't set up priorities, the developers, they just pick something randomly and just start working on it. Now, in many cases, developers, they don't have the business view or the business understanding of the project because they don't take part in the requirement phase, and their job is basically build the features. So sometimes they cannot tell which feature is more important. So if you just let them randomly pick features and you don't set up priorities, you could get a situation in which all the high priority features are not developed, and at the end of the project, you only have the low priority features, and as a result, the project is not being considered as successful because the main features that get the project running are not ready. This way, you want to set up the priorities and make sure that first you finish the high priority features, and then you go to the lower priority features, and at the end, if you have time, you can go and develop the very low priority features, some features that you can even release the product without them if you don't have enough time.
All right. And then your third and final reasons why projects fail is scope creep. And I think that relates probably back quite a bit to the first one, the poor requirements. So explain a little bit scope creep to us, and maybe also how it relates back to the fact that we don't have our requirements all that well defined.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Scope creep is usually related with the poor requirement processes. What happens is that if you don't fully define the project at the beginning and the features that are included, you start working on development of the project, and then you find out that you missed some features. So then you want to add them to the project. So if the project was, for example, was planned to be finished within 3 months with the set of features, if you add more features, you need to add more time, or you need to add more resources. You need to find more people because you have more features to work on. And if you continue to add more features, the result is that the project will never end because there's things changing all the time. Now, the thing with scope creep is that sometimes people are not even aware that this scope creep process happens because, you add a small feature here, a small change there, and it's like only a few hours here and a few hours there. But over time, it creates a lot of disruptions, and as a result, the schedule keeps changing and the project never ends. If you have a better requirement process, you will probably get more features at the beginning of the project, and your project plan and schedule will be more accurate because you will include the features that are needed to be developed, and you'll have less changes and less, as a result, less scope creep changes. But I have to say that, you could never know at the beginning everything, and sometimes things change throughout the project. So sometimes there's no way but to make changes, to change the project plan. And that's fine. That's part of project management. But there are ways to do that. There is a process control system that I talk about in my book, how to do that and how to change the project schedule accordingly and even keep the projects on time, even if you make changes in the features and the plan.
All right. So the 3 reasons again are poor requirements, missing priorities, and then scope creep as the top 3 reasons why projects fail. Now, you mentioned the book a couple of times. We started out with the book. I mentioned that you wrote the project management formula, but you also said something that piqued my interest in the very beginning. You said that your company, Element Tool, you have a project management system. Tell us, maybe take a minute or so and tell us about this project management system and what it does for your organization and for your customers.
Okay, so Element Tool, it's elementtool.com, is a web-based project management system, which that means that we have a website and everything is hosted on our website. So you don't need to install anything. You just log into the website, you open an account, and everything is ready for you to start using. We are the first web-based project management system on the internet. We started in 2000, and when we started, there was no web-based systems like this. There were actually hardly any web-based system at all. So we have a set of tools that enable companies to run their projects from start to end. So we have the requirement section and that you use when you start the project. There's a scheduling tool that enables you to build the project schedule and track the progress. And we have the issue tracking system that enables you to set up to assign issues to team members and track their progress on the issues. And of course, some other tools that support your project, like file sharing and help desk and test case management for running tests. Now, the advantage of Elemental is that you have all the tools integrated as one system, as opposed to sometimes you buy the different tools from different vendors. So one vendor offers you issue tracking, another one offers you requirement management, and then you need to work on integration on yourself. You need to build the integration between the different systems. So with Elemental, everything is one system and it's all integrated, and the tools are connected one with the other.
Okay. So let's get back to your book, because people are probably very interested in those 5 steps that you offer that should help them ensure that their projects don't fail. So why don't you take us through your 5 steps that you recommend in the book?
Okay, so the first step in the book is define project objectives and collect requirements, which is what we talked about, the poor requirements problem. You start the project by collecting the requirements and setting the objectives that will define the project as successful. Okay, if you develop a project for someone, even if it's in-house project or for a client, you want to set up a set of objectives that you want to meet at the end of the project, so the project is considered a successful project by the person or the people that ordered the project. So this is what you do at the beginning. It's more like setting up a contract with the people that ordered the project, where you set the expectation and you know exactly what they want to get, and you build the project according to what they need. So this is the first step. The second step is defining the priorities of the different features and requirements. So you break down the project into requirements and features, and you go and set priority to each feature. This way, when people start working on the project, they know which features they should start first, going from high to low. Step number 3 is planning iterations. Now, in the book, I use the agile project management system, which means that you take the project and you break it down into mini projects, like small projects. And for each small project, you run it as if it's a standalone project. So let's say if I build this big website, I take the website and I break it down into smaller projects. So, for example, let's say I have one of my part of the website is the billing system, where people can make orders and pay online. So the billing system will be a project within this website project. What I do when I run the project, I break it down into smaller projects. So this is step number 3. Step number 4 is running iterations. It means that I pick one small project and I start working on it and I start developing it. And I only focus on this set of features that are included in this iteration, in this small project. That's all I'm focusing on. And I basically go through all the project management steps, and I create the requirement, the feature list for that iteration, and I build a schedule and assign priorities and assign the features and the tasks to the team members, and we start working on them and until the project is finished, the mini project. And step number 5 is present the product to the client. Every time I finish a mini project, an iteration, I go to the client and I present what I have. This way, the client can give me feedback and we can go and make changes. And it's easier to have this interaction with the client throughout the project to make sure that the project is completed according to what the client is expecting to get, and not just work on a project for 3 years and then the end come with the end result to the client and they would say, oh, this is not what we expected, and then you need to go back 3 years and start all over. If you break down this 3-year project into 3 months iterations, every 3 months you meet with the client and you present the part of the project that has been completed and you get feedback. Worst case, if things were not developed according to what the client expected, you lost 3 months instead of 3 years. So this is step number 5.
All right, so let me repeat if I got this right. Step 1, you define the objectives and you collect the requirements. In step 2, you'll define the priorities, and by doing step 1 and step 2, we've already eliminated reason number 1 and reason number 2 that you have said why, the projects fail. And then step 3 is plan my iterations. 4 is run my iterations, go through the iterations, actually develop what we said. And step number 5 is then present the product. And I guess there is a circular motion. You're probably going back to step number 2 after this again, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, okay, good. So on a very high level, this sounds very much like Agile. This sounds very much like Scrum. Am I right here?
Yes. As I said, that's we take the Agile approach and for managing projects, yeah.
Excellent. So where would people go to if they wanted to get your book?
Well, they can find my book on Amazon.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
And we'll put a link into the show notes so that people can go to PM Podcast, the website, and click there and find it directly in Amazon. You also have it on your own website, right?
Yes, we also send it to people that sign up to get it on the website. We give it for free. We just charge like $4.99 just for shipping and handling.
For shipping.
Yeah, but you get it for free if you sign up directly through us.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yaron. So my final question from you. Out of these 3 reasons that we saw, poor requirements, missing priorities, and scope creep, in your experience with your customers, which is really the biggest culprit of these 3 that you see as this one really makes projects fail a lot?
I think the number 1 reason is this scope creep problem.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's basically a result of the 2 other problems. So if you skip a few steps, you start getting scope creep, and the project will basically never end.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Once again, the book is called The Project Management Formula, the 5 steps to complete your project on time. Available on elementtool.com. That's just one T, elementtool.com on the website, or you can find it in the Amazon store where it is available for the Kindle. Once again, Yaron, thank you very much for having been on the program today. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
And that was our interview with Yaron Sinai and the top 3 reasons why projects fail, as well as the 5 steps you can take to avoid such a failure. Are you PMP certified and want to earn 37 PDUs quickly and for less than $5 per PDU? That's no problem with the Agile Prepcast. It not only prepares you for your PMI ACP exam, but also qualifies for a ton of PMP PDUs. Log on at agileprepcast.com/PDU for the details. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us on the web at pm-podcast.com. Please send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com, and when you write, please do tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. Once again, we present a traditional saying that we twisted for project management purposes, because it nicely fits into today's topic. The original saying is, ask no question and hear no lies. And the twisted version goes like this. Ask no question, and you will hear no requirements. Until next time.